Hi, lovelies. How are you doing? Happy Sunday to every single person joining, all the ladies, and I know that the men sneak in sometime. I'm Pops and Francis, founder of Women Healing Together, and this is the space and place where we deal with all things women. And don't forget, I help women to achieve the 4 E's. I will show you the 4 E's later. For those of you who are joining, you are early. Yay! Wonderful. I want you to take this opportunity right now to share the link with someone. So, yes, go ahead, hit that share button. It's below, lower to the right of your screen, and go ahead and share that. If you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, we want to thank you so much for coming. So, share the link on all your socials because both men and women, or I should say that the other way around, both women and men need to be a part of this conversation. This is season 3, episode 3 of Talk Truth. And our topic for today is, can mothers father children? Whoa. We're going to be getting a whole lot of perspective this evening, and you cannot afford to miss this conversation. So go ahead and share that link. I have two wonderful persons here with me today to lead us in this conversation. First, I'd like to introduce to you my friend, my sister. She's absolutely amazing. Casey Ann Brown Divertile. I know I did it right, Casey.
You
Did I
did.
pronounce? Lovely. So, Casey, thank you so much for coming.
You're
I,
welcome.
I'm very excited to have you here. Casey
Happy
is
to be
call her
here.
Casey, right? So, Casey is a mother of 3. She's a registered nurse. She's very passionate about God, about God's mission, and about the ministries that God has asked her to facilitate and to also partner with others to see his kingdom come. She's also the co founder of Kim K Inc. And you're going to be learning a lot more about Kim K today. So thank you so very much. Now, the next person who's going to be joining us today is my honey bunny. I call him Honey, Donald C. Francis. Hi, honey.
Hi, babes.
He's in the other room, by the way. He is a pastor. He's an author of the book Transcendent Wisdom, Words of Wisdom to Live By. And he's also a doctoral candidate studying a doctorate in psychology. I'm so happy to have both of you today.
Thank you.
And both of them don't like to talk about themselves. So I
Thank you
introduce.
for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining. So we're gonna start off. Comments are already coming in the chat. So we're gonna be giving some shout out. Nilian, welcome Nilian. Welcome Jem. Jem is my mommy. Melissa is also typing in the chat. So please go ahead and share the link. Let's start this conversation. The big question is, can mothers father children? But I think it's important that we start with the definition of fatherhood. What is that? Before we even answer the question. Casey, I see you're nodding like, yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead, Casey. Who are fathers?
So, for me, fatherhood, or being a father, I should say, is just the ability for a man to naturally deposit sperm. That's being a father. Anybody, any male that can be a father. That's the definition I give father as a father.
Lovely. Thank you, Casey. Honey, do you want to chime in?
Yes. So, because I'm a theologian as well, I'd like to give a theological foundation for what it is that fatherhood means. And so, there's a Greek word that is used, which is apata, which means source, originator. So, in that role, the father is the source, the foundation upon which the family is built, rather than the head of the family is the foundation. Everything springs from him, everything originates from him. Purpose of the family, the foundation of the family, the direction of the family, all of that comes from the father.
Lovely. Thank you so much for those, for both perspectives. Remember, you can chime in at any point in time. This is a very casual conversation.
Honey,
Yes,
and
go
to
ahead.
add to that, so when the man becomes the source, whatever he produces becomes a resource. So what God has done, when he becomes the father for us, we become his resource so that we can source and provide source to other persons.
Lovely. Thank you. Casey, you said something
Yeah,
very,
that
yeah,
was a
go ahead.
good. No, I was saying to Pastor Francis, that's a very good biblical depiction and explanation of the word father. Yeah,
Yes,
it
yes.
is.
Okay.
But
So,
you know,
yeah,
daddy, that's a difference,
talk to us. That's where I was going to head.
right?
Talk
Being
to
a
us about
daddy,
it.
it's so different from being a father. Because any as you said, it's a source. And if you're able to be that source, you can be that source. But can you be a daddy? Can you be a daddy? I think that's something that we should muddle over in our head.
Okay. I want us to explore that some more. Is there a difference between being a father and being a daddy in your mind, Casey? And let's explore that. And then we'll hear what Pastor has to say.
So I think there's a difference, right? Because if as pastor's explanation, a father is someone that deposit, a father is someone that builds a foundation, right? But who nurtures, who teaches, who guides, who teach integrity? I think that's where the role kind of change, at being a daddy, right? And it doesn't need to be a person that deposit as a daddy. You can have someone that never deposited but is a daddy because they have provided those nurturing skills. They have taught. They have created that. Even you said foundation. I think daddies can create foundation as well. Biblical, social, emotional. So I think that there is definitely a difference between a father that deposit and create foundation and a daddy.
Hmm. I want to throw, thank you so much, Casey. I want to throw something here before Honey chimes in. Are we open to the thought that we have made a distinction between a father and a daddy because fathers are not executing their roles in its entirety based on how God intended? So now we have to make a distinction. That's just something for us to think about, and feel free to chime in after Casey. Honey, were you going to say something?
Okay, so the role of the father is the foundation, and the foundation encapsulates everything that there needs to be: the nurturing, the molding, the direction, the leadership, the instilling of values, from a biblical standpoint and even from a psychological standpoint. So even though he carries the role of being a donor, a sperm giver, the word donor would be better to explain those who do not carry their roles. So they are sperm donors. The fatherhood carries all of the parts that they are supposed to carry, executing their roles, being the chief lover, the protector, the person who guides the family into worship. All of that is encapsulated in the word father. The sperm donor only comes to deposit and he leaves after his deposition is done.
Casey, I see you. I see you as your thing. I
So
see you. I
I
see you.
agree with you. Right, yeah, no, because what Pastor is saying is true, but he used the word fatherhood. You have described fatherhood, which encompasses everything. I was talking about being just a father. So being a father, a fatherhood position or carrying that role includes father and daddy. So I agree with you. I definitely agree with you.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the thing. I know that there are many women, I've heard it before. For those of us who grew up in single parent households, we would say our mothers fathered us. Is it possible? And last Father's Day gone, someone actually put up a meme on their social to say, single moms, today's not your day. Step aside. Don't say you father your children. And I found that to be so hilarious. And ladies who are in the chat, you are joining us. Let us know what your perspective is. Oh, they've started to type. So I'm going to put some of the comments on screen. Okay. So Nellian says, from a biological point of view, with respect to genes and chromosomes, fathers, understood. Shamika, you're already saying mercy, like this is so deep. Father, help us, Jesus. Can
Yeah.
moms father, or let's say daddy children, if you want to make that distinction? Is it possible?
So I'm a single mother of three. And I would say no. I think there's certain things that a daddy carries that a woman, no matter what, a woman cannot
Provide.
it cannot work. Okay, I can give an example. I grew up in a household with a mother and a father, right? And I think I am the way I am today because of my father. My father took, and I'm not saying people have just hear me out here. My father took no excuses. My father took no excuses. When I was 3 years old, I was fixing a car with him to the point right now that if I hear engine, I know when something is going wrong. Right? My mother now, if I'm there working with my father, my mother's a nurturer. So she's no, she can't do that. She's a girl. She can't do that. But if I didn't have that, my daddy in the house that taught me, that says there's no distinction between roles. You have to make sure that you do this. You're educated. You can do this, and give me that drive. I wouldn't have been able to withstand some of the things that I have gone through in this life to this day. And for me, with my children not having a daddy in the home, it worries me because I'm not that hard on them. When I see them struggling, even though I know to toughen it, I'm like, no, my nature is no, darling, leave it alone. Don't bother. So it scares me that the skills that I have, my children might not have it because I can't be that. I am born as a woman. My instincts and my gene makeup is different from a man. So I'd say, yes, we step in and we pay the bills and we do everything like we should, like, we're carrying the household of two people, but we cannot carry the role. We cannot replace it. I think a woman cannot daddy a child or daddy children. No,
Whoa.
And
I don't
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
Whoa, that's a mouthful right there. That's a
yeah,
mouthful. 1 million, honey, because society in
yeah.
the wave right now is saying, yeah, as a woman, you can father, you can daddy, we can do it. We're all powerful, we've got it. And we're hearing from you and for so many other women who are saying, no, it's not possible. Honey, go ahead, and then we'll take some
Yeah.
comments.
What
Casey
Kay
Ann.
said, yeah, what Kay said is extremely powerful, even from a psychological standpoint. From a psychological standpoint, if you look at the prefrontal cortex, you'll discover that those children who do not have fathers, they produce a high level of cortisol, which
Mm-hmm.
throws off the
Stress.
balance in the brain and
Mm-hmm.
induces a level of stress on them that
Yeah.
makes them
Mm-hmm.
weaker, makes reduces
Yes.
their level of resilience. And so when you
Yeah.
have a father in the home or a daddy in the home, whichever one you want to use, in the home, the father strengthens the child, causes a child to grow backbone. So the father trains for resistance, trains for resilience, train for taking on life's vicissitude. Because you see, the father is like a hunter, is like a warrior. He strengthens while the mother
Correct.
comes in
Yes.
and
Yes.
refines the child with nurturing, get in touch with your emotions so that you are not just a cold person. So when both parties come together, you have a complete human being with both
Wholesome.
the emotional intact, so that the child becomes emotionally sensitive while being very strong, which is to say the father helps the child with self-esteem, self-efficacy, balance, foundation of self and worth. That's what the father does. So without that, you will find that the child would want to look for love in wrong places. They get involved in
Mm.
sexual
Hold
intercourse
on,
very
Pastor.
early.
Hold on, Pastor. Hold on, Pastor. Hold on, Pastor.
Okay.
We are going to address the issue of what are some of the spin offs of not having a father figure, right? But before we get there, you have shared a mouthful about the importance of the father in the home, or at least a father figure. Casey, you were agreeing. And so I want to throw something in the conversation here. If a child or children do not have a father or a daddy in the home, is all hope lost? And what has been your experience?
So, Papsan, you came in and out. I don't know what's going on, or maybe it's on my side, but um, is that question for me and Pastor, or is it for Pastor?
It's for you. Like
Repeat.
based on your experience, based on what you
Oh,
have
it's for
shared.
me. Okay.
Yes, yes. How have you bridged the gap with your
No,
babies?
no. So here's the thing, all hope is not lost. And I would say this, the first thing, with me being a single mom, I knew that in order for my children to be healthy, I have to be healthy. And I knew that I didn't want to not have my children have a relationship with their father. So we decided that out of everything that we have gone through, our children are very important to us. And we understand that they were entrusted to us by God. So we put our differences aside and say, listen, we have to do what's best for them. And that means you and I have to be friends. We have to be amicable. We have to show caringness with each other. We're not together in the home, but they may understand that while there's breakage, we can still function, right? So one of the things that I did, my ex-husband and I wish I was telling Papsan that had I thought about it, I would have invited him to come on so he could have given his perspective as well, is we have decided to be friends and to make sure that we put our children first. So with that, we foster that environment where we have this understanding. Even though he's not in the home, he still instruct, he still comes in and be a mediator. He still let these children understand that while he's not there physically, he is here to actually perform, to guide, and I allow that. It is my home with my children. Let's be frank, I take care of everything here, but I welcome that here so that they could understand that while things are broken and God is in the mix, we don't have to throw it away, right? We can just ask God to guide us. Also, my children, I they're surrounded with a village. So you have my father, you have family friends that are male that have their children that talks to my children, they have uncles, and so so they don't, that way they may not have that immediate person in the house to see the functionality of a home. But I made it my business to help them to understand that there's certain things that is expected of them.
Yes.
Especially, I have two boys and a daughter. So, and I think that everything that a child needs, a child needs, whether it's a girl or a boy, they need it for different reasons, right? And different things. And I guess we'll go further into the
Definitely.
symptoms of not having the daddy present. But
Definitely.
for me, I don't think all hope is lost. I think that we have to be honest with our children. I think that we have to show them the right way and show them how, if it's not going that way, how we can mediate it in a healthy fashion. And we just
Wonderful.
have to be purposeful about it. I tell my children all the time, when you're choosing a partner, you have to go to God for that. I say to them, a home should have a woman and a man, a father and a
Wonderful.
mother, because that's how God instituted. And when I have to go and do things with my children and I find myself in a quandary, I bring it to them. I said, this is the reason why. Don't blame their fathers, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's healthy. But I said, this is the reasons why God instituted a man and a woman, a mother and a father in the home, because now mommy don't have to making sure that she goes to all the meetings one day. All three of them have meetings minute apart, and I'm driving like a crazy woman all over the place. I said, if I had a daddy in the home to split those responsibility, then we
Yes.
wouldn't have to go through this. And I say to them, bear with me.
Yes.
Bear with me.
Yes.
It's my issue. This is you're getting the ramification of decisions that were made between your father and I, but bear with us. This is not what God intended.
What
And
can I
so
insert?
that's why I think it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're breaking up. I was asking, just allow me to insert here because you're dropping some
Yes.
really powerful points. And one of the points, and I see
Yeah.
Honey agreeing, one of the powerful points is that co parenting is necessary.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
absolutely
Yes.
necessary. In
Yes.
our culture, I can
Yes.
speak about the Caribbean culture. I don't know about the African American culture, but it's like once the mom and the dad are no longer together, then there is no relationship. There is no coming together. And you said it correctly. The children are the one who suffer. And I want to just lift my hats off to you before Honey comes in, where
Yeah.
you are able to say to your beautiful babies that listen, this is one of the consequences of not having both children,
Yes.
both parents. But you took it a step further and you said it's not a blame game. It's not a daddy's fault, mommy's
Right.
fault. This is an adult
No.
interaction or an adult circumstances
Right.
that have taken place, and we're not going to place that burden
Correct.
on you. I'm going to stop talking, Pastor chiming, because I'm very, very passionate about this topic.
Thank you. So one of the things that I like about what Kay said that is important, and is that human beings are built with the ability to adapt. So once there's a challenge, the brain begins to seek out solutions to that issue, especially if you, like Kay, came from a background where she had mother and father, she has a point of reference, she has a schema, she has a worldview that sees the importance of having father and mother. So she's going to create, the brain is going to give that reference to her that it is necessary, it is necessary, it is necessary. So even though things may not have
Right.
gone the way she planned in her life, she's going to seek for what she experienced so that she does not create a cycle that is going to continue in her children's life. And that is very beautiful. And also, I noted what she said, that there are other persons who can play roles, because what you've got to do, you can't just sit down and complain that things did not work out. You've got to
Mm-mm,
find a solution to
mm-mm,
give
mm-mm,
your children
mm-mm.
the best fighting chance at life so that they can progress. And as your children begin to adapt and they see these things modeled before them, whether in other family members, they will begin to form ideas of what a family is supposed to look like. They will begin to form ideas as how they should themselves manage their own affairs so that they don't continue in that trend.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. We're going to
Correct.
take a small break. If you want to get in touch with Women Healing Together, we're going to be sharing with you all the ways that you can. And then when we come back, we're going to go to our viewers and they're going to be sharing their thoughts with us. But for now, let's see how you can get in touch with us if you want to be a part of our womanity community of women. Wonderful. Let's go straight to the comments because the comments, it's so heated. Like, whoa, let's go. Nicola says, talk truth. That's what she says. That's the name of the program, talk truth. So we speak the truth here, and that's that. Shamika chimed in and she said, I used to think that a mother can father a child. Let me put the comment on screen. I used to think that a mother can father a child, but since I'm growing in Christ and is now a single mom, I realize that every child needs their dad. Or, as Casey and Pastor has agreed, they need a dad like figure. All right? Because the truth is, some
Yeah.
fathers will not be in the lives of their children. And as Casey says, we cannot allow that to warp or to negatively affect our children. But we're going to get to that. My mom, who was a single mom for years, knows she has experienced the sting of not having a father in the home. And I think a lot of moms, and I'm going to chime here before I read mom's comment, a lot of moms believe that if their children have escaped, the girls have escaped teenage pregnancy, if the boys have escaped drugs and gang, if they get an education, then all is well. Not necessarily.
No.
And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. So mom says
Yeah.
single women are just super women to our children. Yes, super women, but we can't be super men. All right. Let's continue. Shamika also chimes in and she says, girls need their mom to teach them stuff and groom them, and boys need dad to do the same for them. When both join together, parenting is very effective. Hallelujah. Nellian also is commenting and she says, the church family is important, and Casey actually alluded to that, a village. I believe that one of the functions of the church is to help to nurture the children without fathers. Whoa. Anybody wants to say anything? Casey, honey, want to chime in before
I
we?
say I agree. I agree. I think, but how many, getting into the nitty gritty and the semantics of it is a different program that you probably should have.
Yeah,
But I do definitely agree that the church should become a pillar for not just the children without dad, but single mothers. I think it is very important. We come there, it's a place of refuge, and it's not just refuge spiritually, it should be refuge mentally and physically. So I definitely agree.
lovely.
Yeah. And for me, not only should the church be supporting the people without fathers, but the church is supposed to help to produce fathers. um, and
Yes.
also nurture those who have neglected their roles as fathers. Because since this is the place where it was first
Yes.
created, the church is the institution of God. So the church is supposed to provide resources, model what fatherhood is supposed to look like, making sure that we spy out, look at those who are not functioning as such, and give them the resources that they need to source their family. And that is what is important. And
Absolutely.
when that happens at church, since it's not happening at home, then perhaps we could have a better society.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
Agree.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go back to the comments. Available says in Jamaica, a daddy a daddy can have two definitions. In a positive context, a daddy is a biological father who is a friend to his child or children, but in a negative context, a daddy is just a sperm donor. And thank you so much for making that point available. We did make the distinction at the beginning of the broadcast. The person continues to say, in my opinion, a mother cannot father a child because the influence of both genders cannot be replaced by each other. Right there, talk truth,
Dead on.
dead
Yeah.
spot on.
Yeah.
Let's take this last comment before we go back to the conversation. For those of you who are joining us on Facebook and YouTube, please go ahead and share the link. It's not too late for someone to join the conversation and let us know your thoughts, as you're already doing. Nicola actually says, it doesn't matter, sister, how Jamaicans view fathers, but from the Bible's principles and stance, uh, it should be one definition. I pray these fathers will come to the realization. And we did comment on that earlier for sure. That if fathers were executing and fulfilling their God given responsibility, not only would they be sperm donors, they would be daddies, an all encompassing person to execute and fulfill the responsibilities. We alluded to it earlier, and Casey said it. It's time to open a can of worms. Many people, including the children like myself, who grew up most of our lives without our fathers in the home or did not have positive father figures, and for women who had their children without fathers, we believe that once they have societal indicators of success, education, finances. They don't have, for example, mental illness, and we see regular, all is fine. I fathered my child. Let's talk about that and mash down that line. I want us to address it, not necessarily for women who, because of circumstances, became single mothers, but there's so many women who are choosing to be single moms. Let's talk about it. What are some of the spin off and spill off of not having a father, a daddy in the home? How is it affecting our children?
So let me begin. So the first thing that I want to say is that once there is no father in the home, there's already trauma. The child is experiencing trauma, and that can be deepened into neglect. They can feel neglect. They are going to feel lonely. Their self-esteem will be challenged. Insecurity issues, lack of love and appreciation. Because you see, the children will always ask three questions of their daddy. They will ask, "Daddy, are you proud of me? Am I lovable? Am I worth it? And what do you think about my future?" Because children always, or most times, try to aspire to please their dad. So while mothers nurture, fathers inspire. The mother will say, "All right, you did well with this exam, you get a 9, you get an 80." The father will say, "Where is the where's the 20%?" You can't, you have to
Yeah.
come up a little higher. So the father inspires, and when there is no father, there's a level of lack in the child's life. And of course, we know that other persons can play a role, but we're talking about definitely those that are in the home. And of course, the research says that especially those who do not have their fathers in the home, 81% of them will go to will become violent and angry, struggling with eating disorder or mental issues such as anxiety, they will be hyperactive, over vigilant, and all of those things are some of the psychological symptoms. And some of them, when they go to school, they can't concentrate, they are busy. And also, here's the final thing I want to say. Even the fact that we say get an education, make sure that nobody abuses you, those are coping mechanisms. So you've invested so much in these things and make them such a priority because the child is trying, along with the parent, they're trying to make sure that they compensate for what was not available in the father. And so the child grows up with this idea that if they have money, if they have education, then they will be fulfilled. Only to find out that there's still a void, an emptiness, and they yearn to fulfill that emptiness, whether in romantic relationships, in they find addictions, and all of these things. All of those things stem to a certain extent, not exclusively, but to a certain extent from this issue of father woundedness.
Mercy. That's a whole lot. And I'm a living testimony. Yes, Casey, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to say. I think he said it all. The only thing I would add is that, Pastor, I think is gentle if you have a man in the home and he's not functioning as a daddy.
True.
I think
Absolutely.
that child can grow up with the same dysfunctions. So, but I
Absolutely.
think you said it. There's nothing else for me to say. I
Absolutely.
agree.
Yeah. I want to put it out there. If you're watching and you grew up in a home without a father, or you never had a father figure, are you able to relate to some of the things that have been said? Can you relate? I definitely can relate. Okay, wait a minute. Nellian says, why? That is a mouthful, Pastor DC, and it's so true. And I want us to find that balance as well. Casey, and you hit the nail on the head. We are not doing this program this evening to say, have a father, have a male figure in the home at all cost. Because the truth is, you have some who are
Right.
there, but they're toxic.
Yeah.
How do you relate to that, Pastor? What do you
Agree.
say? Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, honey. Casey, and then we'll take honey.
I mean, I think Honey's gonna. I'm calling you Honey now, but I think Honey is gonna is gonna say everything. Listen, I think when you have a father that is in the house and he's not functioning like he should, it is even more toxic. You're training these children that that behavior is normal. That will become their normal if we don't find a way to change that. And that to me, when God entrusts us with these beautiful beings, right, he's expecting us to do the very best we can so that he can be glorified. And if we have them in toxic environment and we're not fixing that, we are definitely going to be hold accountable, because he has given, if we have faith and we trust him, we have to do what's right for those children. And I think having a person in the home that is not functioning the way they should is detrimental for children.
Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in the brain, there's a thing called mirror neurons, which says that what is modeled will be mirrored. All right. So once in the home, and I'm agreeing with you, Kay, that once you have somebody in the home that is doing opposite to what they're supposed to do, the child will likely mirror what they've seen modeled, because they will not
Right.
listen to the words, they will listen to the action. And one of the important things that I wanted to bring forward is that we also select the spouses that we've seen demonstrated in our parents. So part of the process of fixing this is to work through the issues. If you have father woundedness or father hunger, they call it, you've got to work through that to ensure that you do not then select the very thing that you've gotten and then give that to your children. So the part of fixing this issue,
Right.
select good daddies, select good potential for your children, and not just because you're lonely or empty, you get somebody to fill that void that is going to continue the cycle.
I
Who?
also think, we have to recognize too. I think right now, we're in an age where there's so much information out there. And I think this is where it comes with mental health, right? So we have to also recognize what our issues are. And in us recognizing what our issues are, we can choose people or not choose people, right? So I think many years ago, maybe in our parents' days, we can call it that ignorance, or we just run to the altar. But we have to almost vet who we're going to get involved with,
Absolutely.
because it can be detrimental in the long run. And if you know you were brought up in a household that was not healthy, you got to go get yourself healed and fixed, because that's the cycle that, as pastor said, you're going to mirror. So I think one of the things that we in the church need to do is to, when we are seeing our young people getting together, we need to have conscious, real, intentional conversations with them. Don't just marry them off and send them, because a lot of times we marry them off and send them, and then it's a cabal of mess. So I think we are to educate our congregation that fix yourself. It's okay. Fix yourself. Identify who you are, what you're about, and where your healing needs to begin before you go out there and venture off. I'm such a strong believer in that. And I
Wow.
tell my children, I talk to my kids like they're grown, but I tell them this all the time. And we speak. I said, you, before you go out there and talk about giving people titles and all this, give yourself, look at yourself. Let's talk about self-awareness, self-healing. That is important before you can go and become anybody to anyone or anything to
Amazing.
anyone.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I want.
Yes, honey, go ahead. And then after this, I want us to, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, honey.
Yes. So some of the characteristics of persons who've not had fathers in their lives, for men, they are narcissistic. They do not have self-regulation.
Hmm.
They are womanizers. And of course, they do not have the ability to self-regulate, or they do not have emotional regulation. They are also very accusing of persons who they think are doing things to them that was done to them, but they are actually the ones doing it to the person. So they'll badger their
Doing it.
spouses,
Hmm.
badger their children, saying that the children are doing stuff, but they are just reflecting or having flashback of the things that were done to them. And so it's like they project. So they are narcissistic. They do not have the ability to self regulate most times. And of course, they do not they are not self-aware. And
Mm.
for
Yeah.
girls, they are mostly into boy company. They want to find that source. They are very dependent, or they love compliments, over conscious about compliments, because they did not get that. And so in an interview from some women, they asked them what would be the things that they want from their fathers, and here are the things: the P's. They would want praise, provision, presence, and protection. That is what they want from their fathers, and if they were to get that, they will feel complete.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mercy.
And guess what? Boys can't be that role that Christ asks us to be. They can't be priests, they can't be providers, and they can't be protectors. If they don't have that emulation, if they don't have that and see that, they can't do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly. Mercy. I recall, thank you so much for sharing. I recall having a conversation with my dad after I got married because I could not understand, if he loved me, why did he go? Or why did he treat my mom the way he treated her? So she had to leave for her sanity and the safety of her children. And I couldn't understand it. And I couldn't understand it because my father was my everything growing up. He was my safe space. If ever a time I felt whole and protected, separate and apart from my adult years, it would be when I was with my dad between the years of 0 and 4 or 5 years old. And I couldn't understand it. And when I had that conversation with him when his father died, I said, "Why did you allow mom to leave? Why didn't you come back? Why?" And for the first time, we had that very deep conversation. This is what he said to me, honey. This is what he said to me, Casey Ann, that I could not give what I didn't have. And when he went through his childhood, the big man at that time, he was maybe 30 or 40 something, he broke down like a child when he recounted his childhood and the fact that his father was in the home, but his father was not present. And so he became womanizing, he became unstable. And as a result, his daughters and his sons, we got the negative consequence or the result of that. It's absolutely true that we check
Yeah.
ourselves, because if we don't check ourselves, we'll wreck the precious gifts that God has given us through children.
One of the things
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. Case
one
was
of the
just
things
agreeing.
Yeah, one of the things that become
Yeah.
important, and even as I'm thinking through the process, and I'm looking at whether or not I'm ready, even at my stage in life, to become a parent. Although I've parented so many people, but it is once you are begin to think of that, you have to ask yourself, what do I have that can benefit this child? How do I be the best person that this child could model? And I have to also remember that whatever issues I have, those are going to come to the fore in my parenting. When you're married and when you're a parent, that is when your true self emerge, not any other time, because those
Yes.
two things test the very core of your foundation. It is
Oh, yes.
not therefore reasonable for anyone who desires parenthood not to seek the help and fix themselves. You cannot say that
Yeah.
you didn't have it when you were growing up, and you couldn't give what you don't have. You can get it. The brain is plastic. They call it
Yeah.
neuroplasticity. You even an old dog can learn new tricks. We can learn. We can
New
adapt.
tricks.
Anyone who does not read
Hmm.
or doesn't look at documentary, or see somebody that they can learn from, you will forever be left behind, and you will always become a damage to somebody.
Mercy. Whoa. Can we pause here?
Agree.
Because this is a deep
Agree.
conversation.
Mhm.
We're talking about self
Yeah.
awareness, we're talking about being in tune with who you are. And so, Women Healing Together would like to invite you to an event that will bring you into this awareness. On July 22nd, 2023, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be having our ladies' online pajama party. It is at this event that we will be talking about self awareness, knowing who we are as women. And Dr. Shauna K. Wilkes, clinical psychologist, will be leading us into this conversation. The cost for this event, which includes registration, and also you'll be getting a self awareness processing guide, is $29.99 US dollars. If you pay for three ladies, you get your seat free. We're going to invite you to register for this event. The link is going to be placed in the chat right now, and you definitely want to reserve your seat. Online pajama party, self awareness. Let's have this conversation. All right. Now, thank you so much. Now let's talk about something else here, Honey and Casey Ann. For the moms who have either become single moms or single parents by choice or circumstances, how can they help their children? Because they can't just go and pick a man off the shelf, right? How can they help their children?
No.
How can they recognize that their children need help?
How can they recognize that their children need help? I think firstly they have to recognize what the issue is, or if there is an issue, which most of the time there is. Um, and I think being honest with your children. I think also modeling, showing them what it should be. I think having that conversation and showing them what it should be. And of course, it depends on the age group and what you're going to do that accordingly. Because even a 1 year old, you can say with their dolly, a mommy and a daddy. You start to model to let them understand that that's how the home should be. I also feel like you can help your children by helping yourself,
Mhm.
because you have to get yourself in line so that you're a lot more patient, so that you can teach them, so that you can listen, so that you understand that three children, three different minds, three different personalities, and yes, you have to juggle that. And also, so you pray. Let me tell you, I my children hear me praying in this house. We are going out, we pray. They understand that there's nothing that they can do without God. It don't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. When I'm going to get a brand new car, you know what I tell them to do? Pray. So they understand. And this is happening from when they're young. When it appears, they realize that God answers prayers. When they're going to take an exam, I say to them, you pray. You have to make sure that God is in the center of everything that you do. And your purpose here on earth is not to praise yourself. Your
Mhm.
purpose here on earth is to be ambassador for God. I think when you put things in perspective for children, even when they're very young, growing up, you help them. You put them in line and you help them be the best that you yourself can allow them to be. Christ just asks us to plant the seed and he'll take it from there. He never asks us to save anyone. He never asks us to, because we know we can't do it. But he asks us just to plant the seed and he'll take it there. And I think that's how you can help your children.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Casey, for sharing those powerful nuggets. Insightful. Honey?
I think Casey did excellently. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No problem. No problem. Um, I can share with you that from my experience, there were days when I was acting up, pre-teenage years, after early teenagers, I was acting up. And I didn't fully understand it. My mom had not a clue. But as an adult, when I look back, those were the moments when I absolutely missed my dad. Because as Casey said, the seed was planted from I was young. My father was my superstar. He was my
Right.
everything. He was the first person who showed me what love from a man looks like. And it was healthy, and it was
Mhm.
pure, and it was welcoming. And when my mom and my dad separated, I missed that. And I became angry at my mom. Why did you leave? And so, as moms, you will or may have a point in the lives of your children when they're going to ask you questions. Or even if they don't, because they don't feel comfortable to ask you, they may act out. And it's going to take a prayerful, discerning, and insightful mother and parent to recognize that my child is lacking something, and how can I be of assistance to the beautiful blessings that God has given me.
Did you? I have a question. Did your mom answer you when you asked her why did she leave?
Here, she couldn't answer because I was not brought up in a home where I could voice these concerns. So they were
Okay,
bottled inside.
I'm going to share with you. My daughter, my children goes to see their father every every summer. Their dad lives out of the country, so every summer they go. And I know my daughter, not my sons, but when my daughter comes back, we go through that challenge. She gets very angry, emotional. She'll ask me, why are we not together? And I've learned, because initially I felt like when she was younger, she didn't understood. So I used to explain to her and give her a generic explanation. And I said, you know what? One day, one summer she came back. She probably was about 8 years old at the time. And she asked me again. And I knew, because I anticipate the behavior. And when she came back and she was going through, I hugged her. She was there. She was very angry, and I hold her and I hugged her. And she tussled and I held her. And we both started to cry. And I explained to her, as an 8-year old, in her level, obviously, why the decision was made. And when I shared with her that the decision was made from her dad and I, both of us made this decision consciously, with them being the sole, what should I say, the sole purpose, right? With them being wanting to have the best for them at 8, I realized the behavior changed. When
Mm.
she went and came back, her behavior changed. Because I think what happened was, for her, my daughter is like me, a little bit more advanced than the norm. And she couldn't put the pieces together. In her mind, I am here, her dad is where he is. So I took them from him. That's what she was going on. I took them. And when I explained to her and I called him on the phone and we both explained, and then we expressed the love that he and I have for each other. However, there's a decision, is even the love that we have, the greater love we have for her and her brothers, things change. So this is why I say, from the inception of this beautiful conversation that I'm enjoying, you got to be honest with your children. You might think that they don't know or they don't understand. Find a way to bring it to their level. Don't overwhelm them with the semantics. Keep the emotions out of it. Be factual. Let them know that decisions are made with them in mind. You didn't make the decision because you're selfish or because mommy don't like daddy. That's silly. That's adult foolishness. You have to let them know, but you also have to create that picture for them to understand that this is not God's way. But because sin, we're in a world filled with sin,
Yeah.
things like this happen. But they are very important to both of us. If you have a father that is just totally absent,
Mhm.
I say to you, in that situation, still have the conversation.
Yeah.
Say, let the child understand your dad is not away because he hates you. Your dad is not away because he's capable. Your dad is away because it's better for you. It is better for you.
Mhm.
I always say, never talk badly about the other spouse,
Yes.
because kids will grow up and they'll find out on
Yes.
their own. You
Yes.
don't have to poison them. Whomever that person is, they'll discover on their own.
Mhm.
Your job is to provide love,
Mhm.
comfort, protection for those children.
Lovely.
They're byproduct of your mistake. They're byproduct of my mistake. So I have to fix that. I have to make sure that I do the very best that I can
Yes.
for their psyche. And
Lovely.
that's it. That's
Um,
all I have to say.
that's beautiful, honey. Before you chime in and we go into the fix your crown segment, something just dawned on me. How is it that as a parent, whether mom or dad, you can bad talk the other parent without that affecting the child's esteem? Because if you're going to tell me all the bad things about my father, or how worthless he is and he has no ambition, and I came from him. So in essence, you're saying that's a part of
Exactly.
me.
Exactly.
So you may feel as a
Exactly.
parent
Plus,
that, oh,
the child is not going to trust you because they're going to say, "You choose that person for my father."
Yeah.
whoa, this is so deep. Go ahead, honey, and then we'll go to the comments.
Yeah, I think Kay did an excellent job. And the part that I want to underscore is openness. What I find is that openness will always win in the long run, because the children will realize that you are trying to make things better, and that you are open. And once they see that openness, it's like vulnerability. They say vulnerability is the deepest level of intimacy. That's the place that you bond the deepest. So once you're able to open and of course share at their level, they will have an appreciation for that. And what that will do is to better the relationship between both parents. And that would also put them in a psychological space to now build resilience. And that's what you want in anything that is broken in a child. The only thing to repair is to build resilience. Once resilience is begin to be rebuilt, then the child begins to have the ability to regulate. If the child is not resilient, the regulation not going to happen, which means you're going to have a dysfunctional child.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And there's an important point I want to insert as well is that as moms are trying to facilitate a father figure in the lives of their children, I would say don't use that as a replacement for their biological father. And let me explain what I mean. There's some children who will always long for their biological father. And so when an external figure comes in the picture, there's some moms who want to say, forget about your biological father. He wasn't here. He's this, he's that. This is the man right now. Okay, I see you. I see you're agreeing. Talk to me. What comes to mind when I share that?
I agree with you. I think that's poison. I think that's poison. I believe you don't, one cannot replace the other. That is not your biological father. This person is in your life, and this person is probably giving you the daddy, playing that daddy role. But the fact of the matter is, we have to identify what is and what isn't. And I think it's better for the child and it's better for the person. So it's a beautiful thing when if you have a stepfather or a stepdad. It's a beautiful thing, right? I mean, you're telling this child that you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful, that somebody else stepped in. But that doesn't replace,
All the issues won't disappear.
Yeah. Honey, may I
will
say?
not disappear.
Okay. Yes. So I was reading, as you know already, I'm in psychology. So I was reading a research some time ago about step parents. And what we discovered, especially for females, girls who have step parents, they mature quicker and they are more likely to enter into intimate relations before. Because although they have this male figure, the male figure is not the same. The energy is not the same. And so the research is saying that that selection of that male figure to be in the home, to be a father, has to be carefully selected. And that is why you have, you know what can happen in a home when you select because the energy is not the same. The bonding is not the same, although they may, it is not the same. And so that is what can tear apart and create another situation that can be very detrimental. So it has to be managed, it has to be seamless, it has to be calculated and gradually introduced. And any introduction that says it's a replacement, especially if the child is close to the father, their biological father, that is a crash party. So what you've done by adding that person to the whole equation, the research says you have decimated any resemblance of what could be a father figure in the child's mind. And so most times these children say, I'm not gonna marry, I'm not gonna marry, I don't like men, or I'm out to get men to punish them, and all of those things, or they just go the other way. Some of those are the spin-off from that. So we have to be careful when we try to do that.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to head into the final segment for this evening called Fix My Crown. And at this time, both of you are going to get about 30 seconds. If you were to speak into the life of a mom who does not have the father beside her to help, or in the life of a child, or someone who is now an adult who is like, whoa, I didn't even realize that I was disenfranchised because I didn't have a father, what would you say? 30 seconds. Who wants to go first?
Fix your crown. I would say get yourself an aha moment. Look in that mirror, look at yourself, identify, get in touch with yourself, identify your areas of weakness, your areas of challenges, fix that. And then in you fixing yourself, you will definitely be that person or be that pillar for your children. So that would be my advice to single mothers out there: fix yourself.
Wonderful.
So,
Honey.
so my 30 seconds will be shared in two parts. So the first thing for both the parent and the child is to accept what happens. Sometimes you will be able to reach out and start a relationship with that father. Sometimes it's not going to happen. Accept. Then the second thing is to do a cost benefit. What are the things in your life that you can celebrate? What are the good things that have happened to you that you can celebrate? Celebrate them, because when you celebrate the good things, then good things will come your way.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much for sharing that. We are at the end of the conversation. But before you come off the live, hold on a bit, hold on a bit. I want to share something with you. Kim, this is not Kim, Kay, this is your surprise. Are you ready? I told her I have a surprise for
I'm
her.
ready.
So I'm going to show you. One, two, three.
Okay.
I made a flyer.
Ah, nice, very nice. Inviting everyone to the retreat, Kim K retreat, a better me for you and me. I love it, Papsan. It's October 26, 29. Ladies, it's a safe space. You will enjoy. We have a ball. The ball is a pink ball. You're coming. You are going to be yourself for yourself. And I love it. Thank you, Papsan, for doing this. I'm inviting every single woman that's out there to come and be a part of other powerful women. Thank you so much.
You
Love it.
are you are welcome. And to register, the number is on screen: 1347-407-3730, or you can email KCN at kcn2 at AOL.com. For those of you who are more technologically inclined, you also have a QR code on screen that you can register for. We're very excited about this event, and we want you to carry everybody.
Oh my, everyone. Thank you. I love it. Love it.
You are
I love it. That's a
absolutely,
great surprise.
you're welcome. My pleasure. Any last thought? Can mothers father children as we close off?
I would say you can't, but do the best you can to give your child a fighting chance at life.
Wonderful. Casey,
I
any
would
last
agree with
thought?
Pastor. I would agree with Pastor. You cannot, but just press on. God created women. We're a wonder. We're producers. You know, Miles Monroe said, you give a woman ingredients, she makes a meal. You give a woman sperm, a baby comes out. You give a woman a house, she creates a home. We're producers. And when you're a woman, you're good, you're strong. And my thing is just connect. Stay connected with God, and you can definitely give your children that opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Casey. Remember, women healing together, we heal so much better when we heal together. We post on our channel every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us on Facebook as well as on Instagram. Thank you so very much. And even though we are ending this conversation officially right now, please share this link with someone. Someone's life will be changed. God bless you, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye bye.
Bye.